मैं IIT IIM से नहीं हूँ, इन्हीं लोगों को स्टार्टअप्स करना आता है, इन्हीं लोगों को फंडिंग मिलती है. दैट इज नॉट द केस.
What are the top 3 learnings that founders should keep in mind while pitching at Shark Tank? Who's the best shark and who's the most intimidating one? How should founders find their first client? What's your trajectory after Shark Tank? So how should new founders raise their first level of funding? A lot of young entrepreneurs want to go and show their product in Shark Tanks, but very few get through. What are the 3 success formulas that a founder should follow?
I think if you focus on building and create something good, like George said, innovative, Shark Tank will come to you.
Guys, I think I saw you on Shark Tank.
Yeah.
Is it true?
Yes.
Okay, can we have a minute?
Sure.
Awesome. Hi, what's your name?
I'm Himanshu.
I'm George.
What do you do for a living?
So, yeah, we are co-founders of Futr Studios. I'm the COO and George is the CEO.
What does Futr Studios does?
So we are creating virtual humans. We've created India's first virtual influencer.
Kyra. Okay, I think she's already pretty famous. And what does Kyra actually do?
Kyra is a lifestyle entertainment content creator. We are creating her as a 22-year-ish old South Delhi, South Bombay girl. And we think that these characters will become the celebrities of the future. So that is what we are working for.
Let's say a 20-year-old wants to start very similar because they're very good with social media and all. How can they get started and make their own virtual influencer?
So I think more or less it's a content game. If you can come up with really good content that is engaging and captures the audience, then that should be good enough. Creating characters as such in today's day and age is not difficult. There are so many AI tools that have come up. So that way, if you get a hang of all the AI tools that are there in the market, you can create your own character.
And for example, there are a lot of people who want to create content but are not comfortable in front of a camera.
Yeah.
So having an avatar makes a great option for them. So there's definitely ways you can explore how you can put yourself out on the internet without actually showing your face if you're not comfortable.
Got it. A lot of young entrepreneurs want to go and show their product in Shark Tanks, but very few get through. What are the 3 success formulas that a founder should follow?
So I think majorly what worked out for us was because we were the first ones in India to be creating a category of its own. That picked a lot of interest around the market, which is why we got a lot of interest from Shark Tank also, the curation team and all of that. So that way it was easy for us to get a foot in the door because the product in itself was very innovative in general. Other than that, as a startup founder, if you are building something innovative that appeals to a larger audience, which makes sense to go on a marquee platform like a TV channel, then you would be a good fit for Shark Tank.
I think if you focus on building and create something good, like George said, innovative, Shark Tank will come to you. So the goal shouldn't be you have to come to Shark Tank. Goal should be to build something good and Shark Tank will come to you.
Got it. After your pitch, what are the top 3 learnings that founders should keep in mind while pitching at Shark Tank?
So the number one learning is that you need to be a good storyteller. You need to be able to put your thoughts in a form that is easily understandable by everyone. Because when you are creating something that is very innovative and it's difficult to explain to a layman, then you need to be able to put it in words that get through easily. So that is definitely number one.
Number 2 is like sharks find great mentors. So like even that 1.5 hour session really helped us. All of their feedback was valuable, and in general you should get good mentors for your business, and mentors can come from anywhere. So that would be another learning that we had.
Who's the best shark as per you and who's the most intimidating one?
In our experience, I think Dipinder was intimidating. It was also his first time on Shark Tank and we weren't really expecting him to be there. But given his background in tech and all of that, we definitely had some good questions coming from Dipinder. The best shark in our panel, I would say, was Aman. We've already worked with Aman before. Kyra has endorsed some products for boat. So that way we already had a rapport with Aman and it was a very free-flowing conversation with him. He already understood the business. So that way we were the most comfortable with him.
So let's say if you have 5 lakh rupees right now, what business would you do if not Futr Studios?
We are all in on Futr Studios.
Okay. So what ideas do you have for other young aspiring entrepreneurs that you feel are very good to pursue right now?
So I think there are so many small problems that we don't really notice day in and day out. For example, if you just look at this street, let's say, there is a parking problem here.
Yeah.
right? People don't generally know, and there are so many different pubs and breweries here, and people come and park their cars here. So if someone can solve that, that is
Got
a
it.
daily life problem that can be solved easily. So looking at such observation is a key skill that you require as a founder. If you're
Yeah.
able to find out these smaller problems that exist but are not really visible and out there, then you can build a business around.
A lot of people want to get started but are procrastinating. What do you want to tell them?
One key learning I think which we've had in our last 2 years is that just take the first step. Don't think too much. Don't. So there are people, and I belong to that category where I would like to put in a lot of research before I even take the first step, but that actually hampers. It prohibits your growth. So I would say the taking the first step is the biggest task. That is where your focus should be, and you should just do it. Don't think too much, just do it, and you can improve it along the way. So that is the way to go for startups.
Absolutely. It's like you don't need to be perfect to be out in the market. The product that you have at your hands is the most perfect product you can have.
Got it. How should founders find their first client?
First client. Okay, so LinkedIn has worked very well for us as a platform, and to be able to get clients inbound, which we have been able to do fortunately, is to put whatever you're doing, just put it out there. A lot of people refrain from doing that. You generally are building in silos and you don't really talk about it much, but you need to be upfront and shameless about what you're doing. You need to go out there, and whoever you are meeting, just talk about what you're doing. You should be proud of what you're doing, which most founders don't do that often.
And go to your friends and family, go to your college friends, go to your alumni. We have found some business from our alumni as well. So the closest people, you might not expect them to give you business, but you never know where your first client can come from.
What are the top 3 myths that you have encountered after becoming a genuine real entrepreneur?
Top 3 myths. Okay. Number 1 myth, which I think we fell for, and which was because of the hype of 2021 in the crypto and Web3 space, is that fundraising could be easy, which it is not. Fundraising is not easy. So definitely there is a lot of work. In fact, I think right now in the early stages, 90% of our time goes into securing capital for running the business. So that is definitely a myth. If you think that you build a great product and you'll be able to raise funds, that is not the case. Number 2 is that, which again was a byproduct of COVID, that a lot of us started feeling that you can work remotely and hybrid work culture and all of that is fine. It worked out for us okay. For the first 2 years we've been working remotely, we were working hybrid. But since last 1 month we started working offline together, and the productivity cannot be compared. So we were able to pull off work that has been pending for like ages in just last 1 month. So initial years of business, I would recommend just get your team offline in a setup where you can be with them, spend a lot of time with them, because even in that time where you're not actually working, if you're around the people that you're working with, you end up brainstorming on a lot of ideas that may turn out to be good for the business. So I would say that start working offline, especially in initial stages. Once you have your processes set and you have a steady stream of revenue coming in, then you can choose to go hybrid or remote.
Okay, so how should new founders, right, raise their first level of funding? Because it's very tough. And what are the hacks around it to get started?
So, 2 ways to do it. One, if you are building a very innovative business that's new to the market, then you can start selling the idea. There are certain factors which affect, for a first time founder, it would be difficult to raise funds for an innovative idea if they don't have any proof of doing any such thing in the past. Second thing, if you're getting into a business that already has a market and you can show even some initial level of traction, then that promises enough to raise your initial funds. So 2 ways of doing it for most very innovative businesses. Just go to, and first, okay, you also need to do a lot of research on what kind of investors you want to approach, because not everyone is the same. In fact, everybody has a different thesis, and there are very selected investors who would want to take large bets, which usually come in early on just the idea stage. So do your research, make a list of the investors, read about their theses, and then start approaching them.
There are some great resources in India now. There are very early first check funds. So just go to Google and search early stage funds in India. They have their forms. You can submit anytime. You can approach them on LinkedIn. So do your research. If you are already at a stage where you have the idea or you have the first level of product, just go try those funds.
Can you name any 3 funds on top of your mind?
Right. So one, I think Nikhil Kamath has a fund for people under 25.
Creators.
There's another fund. We are of course part of such a fund, 100x.vc.
Oh, yeah.
I think there are many more such funds. First Check is something that I've heard. There are angel networks that you
Yeah.
can go to.
So even we've heard of Antler, which has a
Yeah.
program for
Correct.
early stage founders, where they have a residency program. You can also look for co-founders over there. So
Correct.
these are good funds, and I would say before approaching such funds, it would also be a good idea to find angels.
Yeah.
Because it's easier to raise money from angels, and for your initial few months, you don't need so much capital. So everybody who's trying to target like $1 million check from the get-go, it wouldn't happen.
Yeah.
So it is better to find a small pool of angels who are invested in your idea and vision and start raising smaller checks from them. Once you can build traction using that money, you can go to larger funds.
Got it. How should founders look at competition?
See, I would say initial days of business, founders should only focus on the product, because if you start focusing too much on what competition is doing, you will just be someone who's following someone else. So your focus should always be on building something different. Eventually, once your product grows, then you should start looking at competition, because if you are building something innovative and you are good enough, then there will be other people who will try to copy you.
Yeah.
And that competition you need to look at, because of course there will be people with more money and bigger pockets in the market who will be able to beat you at the game. So then how do you differentiate there?
Yeah.
So early stages of business, you don't need to focus so much on competition, but eventually you will need to.
As a first time founder, how do I make my first hire at a very right price?
Right. So I think this is the CEO's job to be able to sell the vision, and that is what the CEO does to investors, to all stakeholders, and even to the employees. So your first hire should always be someone who is sold on your vision. So it's a debate between skill set versus intent or passion. I would say the initial set of people, you need to look for very passionate, crazy people who are as crazy about building something as you are. Once that core set of people is hired, then you look for people who are a good fit for the skill set that you need.
Yeah.
So initial priority to passion, and then next priority to skill set.
What's your trajectory after Shark Tank?
Right. So it was very good for visibility, of course. I mean, because we were new in the market and not many people knew about us. A lot of people started knowing about us after Shark Tank, and we got a lot of investor interest after that. So in spite of not being able to raise funds on the show itself, right after the show, we started getting messages from all over the world on LinkedIn of
Nice.
people who are interested in investing in what we're doing. So that way it was very good for visibility in terms of investor interest. We also started getting interest from brands, and we've been speaking to a lot of brands after Shark Tank. So that way, visibility wise, Shark Tank was really good for us. It also gave a slight boost to our ego, because we were able to present what we are doing on national television.
And that's how I identified you today.
Yeah, and I mean, not just our ego, even friends and family who are close to us, they now look at us in a different light, because they know that we are building something that we were able to present on a national stage.
Yeah.
So that way, some level of respect from people who wouldn't usually. So even within our close friends and family, there were people who were not really big on the idea that we were building on. But after the show, they have been very supportive. And
So what's your one-line advice to a 20-year-old who wants to start up?
Right. So my one-line advice would be that number one is that you need to believe in yourself, because a lot of times we fall into the trap of what, मैं IIT IIM से नहीं हूँ, इन्हीं लोगों को startups करना आता है, इन्हीं लोगों को funding मिलती है. That is not the case. You need to first work on your own belief system. You need to get rid of all the inhibitions that you have in your head and all the doubts that you have in your head, and just go all in and believe in yourself. That is the number one advice that I would give.
My advice would be, forget about funding, forget about Shark Tank. Just whatever idea you have, whatever problem you're trying to solve, and the passion that you have for it, focus on that. Forget about what are the definitions of a startup, what is funding. If you focus on that, and if you build a product or a service, you will see the results. Funding will follow you if you build a great product.
Where should youngsters go and get this direction that they need in their business?
I think there's a guy called Kshitiz.
Sanghi, who is doing a great job at giving direction to new age entrepreneurs. So please follow Kshitiz.
Thank you.
I'm sure you'll get a lot of help with your startup ideas.
Thank you.
Stop procrastinating, start today.
That was the episode, Future Founders. A lot of great founders and entrepreneurs are in line to guide you on your startup journey. Till then, stop procrastinating and start today.